A woman's place is in the kitchen. Right you are, it is. For ages, women have been told that their place is in the kitchen. I agree. I agree that our place is in a professional kitchen, leading the brigade and succeeding. So in this day and age, why are we still having this conversation about the gender of a chef? I remember this conversation. Are you learning to cook so that you can make delicious food for your husband when you get married? This was a question which was posed to me by a cook in the first professional kitchen that I had ever worked in India. As I had missed each and every class on how to act demure, I promptly turned and I asked this cook if he had become a cook to make delicious food for his wife. Oh my God, he was aghast. He turned to me and very angrily told me that cooking at home was his wife's responsibility and that was what her place was. Needless to say, I was labeled as the girl in the kitchen who was too smart for her own good. I grew up in a really small town in India. It was a professional community. All the kids were encouraged to follow a career path, and the most popular career choices were to be an engineer or a doctor, or if you're really looking outside the box, an accountant. Very early on, I realized that that was not going to be any of my choice. Early on, I also realized that I had a love affair with food. It started from eating delicious dishes at home to realizing that my neighbors were creating different regional cuisines, which fascinated me so much. So in fact, the story is that I would finish dinner at home, go over to my neighbors' houses, knock at their door, and proclaim that my parents hadn't fed me. So I invited myself to their dining table or into their kitchens, cooking with the aunties. These aunties unlocked a wonderful world of flavors, ingredients, and techniques to me, which I didn't see in my own home. The aha moment happened when my older sister went to do her undergrad. I would show up at her school with cakes and food, and soon I realized that I was the most popular kid on campus, even though I didn't go to school there. And that's the time I realized that I could do something that I love, and people love me for it. That's when I realized that I wanted to be a chef. My family was extremely supportive. The only set of instructions they gave me was to do whatever I wanted, but to make sure that I was the best at what I did. And that's a mantra that I hold close to my heart till date. As a strong educational foundation was very important, I applied to the best hospitality schools in India. And I was really fortunate to be a part of the Welcome Group Graduate School of Hotel Administration. I did my undergrad there. They weren't culinary schools per se in India, so you had to do your hotel management to get into the kitchen. While my friends had the ambition to be a front office manager or to be in the front of the house or in sales and marketing, I think I was the only girl in my school who wanted to be a chef. It was an obsession. It was a single-minded focus. In fact, I still remember a lot of my instructors came up to me and told me that maybe going into marketing and sales would be an easier life for a girl. Well, for those who know me, know that the only way to get me to do something is to tell me that it can't be done. So I did it. All my externships were in 5-star hotels in India, where inevitably I would find myself being the only girl in a kitchen of 50 to 60 men. I had to hold my own. I had to show that I was strong even when I didn't feel it. And I think that was a great foundation for me. In fact, I remember this incident very vividly. I was on an externship. I was at the fryer station, so there was a fryer in front of me full of hot oil. There was a server who came and was trying to throw a piece of bread on top of the salamander, and the bread missed its mark. It fell into the oil, the hot oil, and there were droplets of oil on my face. It was hot, it hurt. But because I was in a kitchen and because I knew that the entire team underestimated me, the fact that she is a girl, I wanted to cry, but I needed to be strong enough to prove that I had a place in the kitchen. I took a deep breath, I turned to my chef and I asked him if I could be excused. I went running to the locker, washed my face with cold water and cried. Because I couldn't cry in front of the team. I couldn't show that I was weak. Those things have changed a lot right now. I embrace my strength and I embrace my weaknesses because that's who I am. But that was an incident that made a big impact on who I am and how I carry myself in the kitchen. I still remember when I was in the locker crying, there were a couple of people who just walked in, some women, whose first reaction was, "Are you going to spend the rest of your life in the kitchen?" And I turned to them and I said, "It's no different from what you do. The only difference is that I want to spend the rest of my life in a professional kitchen." There were also whispers of, "Oh my God, if those marks don't go from her face, she will never get married." So the entire focus was that you get older and you get married. There wasn't this calling, a professional calling. So for me to be a chef as a girl, as a woman, was so outside the box of what was deemed normal. Nearing graduation, I asked my chef instructor which was the best culinary institute in the entire world to go to. And without even batting an eyelid, he said the CIA. By the way, CIA is the Culinary Institute of America, before you think I'm anything cooler than a chef. And going to the CIA was an incredible experience because I found myself under the same roof with 2,000 other people who were as passionate about food as I was. And there was such a big majority of them which were women and girls, and it was exciting. The interesting part was that baking and pastry had more women in it, while culinary had lesser women in it. And I would always have this conversation as to why does this happen? And when my friends would come back from externships and would tell stories of how some kitchens were not receptive to women working on the line, working as chefs, and I understood why there weren't so many women in culinary, but I also didn't understand. I mean, wasn't a chef a chef? Wasn't the goal the same, to put your best foot forward and to make the best food that you can? Would the guests know the difference if the dish in front of them was made by a man or by a woman? Wasn't the underlying statement that the food needs to be good? I would always have these conversations in my mind. The why. Is it because they thought that, that we were not strong enough or were too emotional? Or was the fact that they were just intimidated that we had the superpower of multitasking, among other things? Recently, a very famous chef weighed in on this conversation. He said, for women, the body clock starts working, and it's evolution. And it's one thing to have a 9-to-5 job and quite another to be a chef with kids. So that makes it difficult. Needless to say, the chef, who is a man, has 3 kids. Why did he make the assumption that it would be easier for him to be a globally successful chef with 3 kids, while it would be difficult for a female chef to be successful? I think I know the answer. The answer is that he's successful because he has an incredible support system. He is in a community and a society where it is expected that the woman takes care of the house and the kids. Well, I have 2 kids of my own, and I'm thankful that I can be a chef, I can be a restaurateur, and I can be successful in what I do. And I think that the reason for that is twofold. The first is that I believe in myself. I have been given a platform, I have been given a foundation, and I have been given the faith and the strength to succeed by my parents and my family. The other more important part is that my support system is incredible. My husband, Vivek Deora, who is not only a business partner, I consider him a mentor, I consider him one of my biggest supporters. He is there rooting for my success as I am rooting for his. We are not only each other's biggest support system, but the biggest cheerleaders. And that, I think, is so important. To succeed, you need to surround yourself with people who want you to succeed and believe in your success. And when that happens, the gender line, it blurs. So to me, the crux of the matter is opportunities. Women need to be given the same opportunities as men get, in the kitchen or in any profession. Women require the same amount of validation. They need the same amount of respect and the same amount of support that men get when they go out in the world to work. Women can do the same job as men. And I'm waiting for the day when we stop having this discussion about the fact that there is a woman in the kitchen or a man in the kitchen, because a chef is a chef. When a chef walks into the kitchen, the team doesn't say, "Good morning, man chef," "Good morning, woman chef." They say, "Good morning, chef." And that needs to be normalized. That is a conversation that needs not to be a conversation. It should be a normal thing to see a woman chef leading a kitchen or a man chef leading a kitchen, because in the end of the day, it is a difficult career path. So when they say a woman's place is in the kitchen, I wholeheartedly agree, because I have found my place in my kitchen, be it my 4 restaurants, my professional world, or be it at home where we are cooking as a family and instilling the learnings in our kids that they can succeed in any career they choose. In the end of the day, what is important is to follow your passion and to love what you're doing. And passion shouldn't be divided by gender.